My wife cheated on me with a younger man, left a family for him. Now, she's begging to come back, but I'm done for good. I'm 45 male, and I've lived through what I can only describe as the worst few months of my life. For 22 years, I was married to a woman I thought I'd grow old with. We had 2 kids together, a 17-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter. A nice house, decent jobs, the typical suburban family. I'm the kind of guy who values stability. I was always there for her for the kids. Birthdays, anniversaries, school plays, soccer games, you name it, I was there. I never saw it coming, but I guess no one ever does. 3 months ago, my world went to hell. It was a Tuesday, nothing special. I finished work early, figured I'd surprise the family, maybe grab dinner on the way home. I walked into the house, and it was dead quiet. No sound of the TV, no one in the kitchen. The silence was off. My wife, let's call her I, was sitting on the couch, staring at her phone, and not just casually scrolling like normal. She looked locked in, real focused. I walked in, dropped my keys on the table, and she barely flinched. When I asked her what she was doing, she jumped. She almost dropped the phone. Oh, just texting a friend, she said, her voice too high, too fake. I asked who? She hesitated. It was quick, but I saw it. Then she smiled. T, just a guy from work. Something in the way she said it made my stomach twist. Call it a gut feeling. T, huh? You talk to him a lot. Her face tightened. What's that supposed to mean? He's a coworker. I let it slide, but that night, I couldn't shake it. I don't know what possessed me, but after she fell asleep, I grabbed her phone off the nightstand. She's never been one to delete her messages, and sure enough, there they were. Hundreds of texts. Hundreds. And they weren't about work. I'm talking months of messages, flirty, raunchy, talking about how much fun they'd had the last time they hung out, how much she missed him. And this guy, he wasn't just a coworker. He was younger, mid-30s maybe, some personal trainer who had her wrapped around his finger. I felt my chest tighten, my hands shaking as I read. I read everything. She was talking about leaving me, leaving the kids, starting fresh with him. The worst part? She didn't sound guilty at all. She was excited, relieved that someone else was giving her attention. I didn't confront her right away. I spent that night on the couch, reading the messages until the sun came up, letting the anger build. The next morning, I waited until the kids were at school, and I walked right up to her in the kitchen. Who the hell is T? I asked, not caring to dance around it. Her face went pale. She knew. She knew right then that it was over. But she didn't even deny it. Didn't cry, didn't beg. She just crossed her arms and said, I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time. I stared at her, trying to understand how the woman I'd spent over 2 decades with could say that to me so calmly, so coldly. You're not happy? So you screw some guy behind my back? That's your solution? She didn't flinch. It wasn't just some guy. He makes me feel alive again. Alive. Like I'd been killing her slowly all these years. Like our family had been nothing more than a dead weight on her. I stood there, not knowing what to say, while she just walked past me, went upstairs and started packing her bags. By the end of the day, she was gone. No tearful goodbye, no explanation to the kids, just gone. I didn't tell the kids right away. I didn't know how. I wasn't sure what the hell to say. So for a while, I just said she needed some space, that we were working things out. But my son, he's smart. He figured it out real quick. After a couple weeks of her missing his soccer games, ignoring his calls, he cornered me in the kitchen one night. Is she cheating on you? I couldn't lie to him. I just nodded, and he went quiet, his face hardening. He didn't say another word, just turned around and walked upstairs. He hasn't spoken to her since. My daughter, she took it harder. She's always been closer to her mom, and I could see how confused she was. She kept asking why her mom wasn't around if it was something she did. I tried to tell her it wasn't, that it was all between me and her mom, but it wasn't enough. She cried a lot, and when she found out the truth, she was devastated. They both stopped answering her calls, stopped replying to her texts. She tried showing up at the house a few times, but the kids refused to see her. I think that's when it started hitting her, that she wasn't just losing me, she was losing them too. Then one night, Maybe a month after she left, she came crawling back. I heard the knock on the door around 10 p.m. I opened it, and there she was, standing on the porch looking like a mess. She wasn't the confident, defiant woman who walked out on me. She looked broken, hair disheveled, eyes red from crying. She was holding a half-empty bottle of wine in her hand. "He left me," she slurred, her words barely making sense. "He found someone else, some other girl, younger." I leaned against the doorframe, staring at her, and she blinked like she didn't understand. "I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I want to come back." I laughed. I actually laughed, standing there in the cold, staring at this wreck of a woman who'd thrown everything away for some guy who tossed her aside the second he got bored. "You're kidding, right?" She stepped forward, reaching for me, but I stepped back. No, I'm serious. We can fix this. I'll make it right. I want my family back. I miss you. I miss the kids. My blood boiled. You miss us? Where the hell was this missing when you were screwing him? You think you can just walk back in here like nothing happened? Please, she begged, stumbling over her words. I didn't think. I was stupid. But I love you. I always have. I just got lost. Lost? I snapped. You didn't get lost. You chose him over us. Over me. Over your kids. She dropped the bottle, and it shattered on the porch. Please, I'll do anything. Just let me come back. I stared at her, the woman I once thought I couldn't live without, and I felt nothing but disgust. You threw away 22 years for a fling, and now that he's dumped you, you think you can come crawling back? Get out of here, She tried to push her way inside, but I blocked her. "I'll talk to the kids," she cried. "They'll understand. They'll forgive me. I'm still their mother. They don't want anything to do with you," I said, my voice low. "And honestly, neither do I." She kept begging, kept pleading, but I'd had enough. I told her to leave, or I'd call the cops. She stumbled down the driveway, sobbing, and I slammed the door. The next few weeks, she didn't give up. She called every day, now left messages, sent letters. She even showed up at my daughter's school, trying to talk to her. But my daughter, she wouldn't even look at her. She told me later that seeing her mother like that made her sick. She didn't want to deal with her anymore. And then came the final blow. I got a letter from a lawyer. She was threatening to take me to court for custody. She had the audacity to claim I was alienating the kids, turning them against her. I couldn't believe it. After everything, she still thought she had some right to come back and rip apart what was left of our family. I told the kids about the custody battle, and my son just scoffed. "She's really going to do this? She's the one who left." I reassured him and my daughter that no judge could force them to live with her if they didn't want to. I tried to stay calm, but the idea of going through court, of fighting for my kids, after everything else, I felt like I was running on empty. Then, the night before the court hearing, I got a call from her. I didn't want to pick up, but I did. "I'm dropping the custody case," she said, her voice shaky. "I talked to the kids, and I get it. They don't want me. I just don't know what to do anymore." There was a long silence before she added, "I'm leaving town. I think that's best for everyone." I didn't respond right away. I didn't know if I believed her, but I didn't care. "Good," I finally said. She started to say something else, but I didn't care to listen. I hung up and tossed my phone on the table, feeling nothing but emptiness. For weeks, she tried to worm her way back in, to claw at the life she destroyed. And now she was giving up? It wasn't relief. It was just done. The next morning, she dropped the custody case. True to her word, she left town. No more calls, no more showing up at the house. The kids didn't say much when I told them she was gone for good. My son shrugged. She made her bed. My daughter stayed quiet for a long time before saying, "Good, I don't want to see her again." We never talked about it after that. Life didn't magically get better overnight. The damage she did was deep, and my kids were still picking up the pieces. My son went back to soccer, though he'd gotten more serious, harder somehow. He wasn't the carefree kid he used to be. My daughter? She stopped trying to be perfect for everyone else, but she still kept her guard up. Couldn't blame her. As for me, I had moments where I felt numb, like the last 22 years had been a lie, and I was finally waking up. But I didn't feel sorry for her anymore. She made her choices, and she had to live with them. Weeks turned into months, and we started to rebuild. Slowly, awkwardly, but we did it together. The three of us, a family she'd tried to break apart. If there's one thing I learned through all of this, it's that people will show you exactly who they are when they're cornered. And when they do, you've got to believe them. My wife showed me who she was when she walked out that door, and that's something I'll never forget. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.